Boom! Shoot! Boom! Shoot! Boom! Shoot!
Well, looks like we're back in the boom shoot pits this week. But this time, we're going to be taking a detour to a place of grim darkness. A bleak place where hope is crushed and you're better off wishing you were somewhere else. That's right, we're going to the United Kingdom.
Got him!
I'd normally apologize for that kind of joke, but it's the British, they brought it upon themselves. Dunking on the limeys aside, we're talking Boltgun, specifically its recently released expansion, Forges of Corruption, both developed by UK-based developer Auroch Digital and published by Focus Home Interactive, now known as Focus Entertainment. But before I decided to get into that, I went and replayed the majority of the first chapter of the base game to remind myself of the mechanics and the arsenal, and that may have been for the best. You play as Malum Caedo, a stern guard veteran of the Ultramarines, a chapter of the Space Marines, aka that thing that makes Games Workshop most of their money. Following the events of 2011's... Jesus Christ, 2011. Oh my god, that's a long time. 2011's Space Marine, Malum and his squad are sent to the forge planet of Gride to investigate any lingering chaos corruption. After a mishap landing results in most of his squad dead, he must now purge the demonic filth in the Emperor's name and get to the bottom of what's going on. Forges of Corruption takes place after the events of Boltgun, with you needing to get into the main manufacturing facility to fully purge that corruption once and for all. If it sounds like I'm glossing over a lot of stuff, it's because I am. The plot is primarily an excuse to shoot cultists and their chaotic masters in the face with oversized guns. Not everything can be a literary classic, and that's perfectly fine. Besides, if I took the time to explain everything, I'd be like Charlie doing the Pepe Sylvia rant. It'd be unwarranted psychic damage for everyone involved. As you can see from the footage of the first few levels, is that I'm getting reacquainted with how Boltgun plays and feels, and the main thing I take away is how heavy Malum feels. I'm not talking heavy by human standards, I'm talking heavy by Space Marine standards. You are a brick shithouse covered in a tank's worth of armor plating and filled with seething contempt. You're a blunt instrument of the Emperor's will, and this is emphasized by Malum's combat style. He starts with a chainsword, a sword that's also a chainsaw. God, that's so ridiculous, I can't take it seriously. And the first thing you see is how you just lunge and tear enemies to pieces with it. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. When I get the urge to rip and tear, I just sort of glaze over in the eye department and let the bloodlust take me. The main game consists of 3 chapters that have 8 levels apiece, 24 levels in total. And in these levels, you fight various enemies that will be discussed later. And this is facilitated by an arsenal of genre stables with a 40k twist. You've got the aforementioned chainsword for melee, the titular boltgun or bolter as it's referred to in universe, a semi-automatic rifle that fires rocket-propelled grenades as standard ammunition. By normal standards, that's fucking overkill. By setting standards, it's a microcosm for how ridiculous the entire thing is, because there are enemies that get hit by this thing, shrug it off, and laugh. Which is where the other guns come into play. You get a decent shotgun, a plasma gun that works like a rapid-fire rocket launcher, but with the 40k wrinkle of being so shittily made that using it too much causes it to overheat and explode. You've got the heavy bolter, which is a bolter but as a minigun, it can shoot through enemies like no problem. There's also a rapid-fire sticky grenade launcher called the Vengeance Launcher, which is great for chipping enemies. The Meltagun, Boltgun's equivalent to the Super Shotgun that shoots cones of superheated air, great for cooking Chaos Marines on the inside. The Volkite Cavalier, which is just a straight-up death ray, and the Graph Cannon, a laser weapon that spawns a gravity field that deals more damage to a target the larger it is, making it great for bosses and super heavy enemies alike. There's also 3 different types of grenades, in standard, impact, and singularity, that last one's wild, and various ammo types for the bolt gun. This might be the most focused collection of weapons I've seen in a boom shoot arsenal outside of maybe Dusk. Everything has a purpose, and all have defined strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, the standard bolt gun is the star of the show. It's the game's namesake, for fuck's sake. Of course they're gonna make the workhorse weapon shine. Ammo was all over the place for it, and it does decent damage on top of that. But I also found myself rocking the heavy bolter quite a bit because of how much I love having that sweet, sweet DACA.
Ooh, guns.
To get into the DLC proper, Forges of Corruption is an additional chapter consisting of 5 extra levels, and these are no joke in terms of beefiness. Here's what I mean by that. Your average Boltgun level was, on average, 10-15 minutes in length. Not too long, but not too short either. This means that you can wrap up the entire thing in like roughly 2 or 3 sittings if you knew what you were doing. These levels take around 20 to 30 minutes to finish. Nope, you didn't mishear me just then. 20 to 30 minutes. These levels are long. This is just one of the ways that Forges of Corruption is designed around having finished a playthrough of Boltgun, and by finished a playthrough, I mean finished a playthrough literally 5 minutes beforehand, because it throws you into the deep end. When you load up the first level, Forges of Corruption immediately throws all it's got at you, between the standard cultists that pack a punch with their weapons, to these assholes.
Now the main problem area is up here. All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort. It's like a visceral reaction of discontent coming from this area. This area is not good either. I hate this, but I'm mainly worried about this.
Yep, that right there is where the expansion just goes fuck it and just starts yeeting Chaos Marines at you, because fuck it, I guess.
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Sorry again, that's the second time I've lost my cool there. But yeah, Chaos Space Marines are among the upper tier of enemies in Boltgun. And while they are introduced in the first level of the first chapter, and they're variants of the long-ranged and heavily armored Chaos Terminators and self-reviving Aspiring Champions that bum rush you in melee as time go on. Unrelated, fuck Aspiring Champions, I fucking hate them so goddamn much! Here they just throw all of this at you at once in great numbers, and it's done in the context of introducing one of Boltgun's 2 new weapons, in this case, the Missile Launcher. Yeah, it's a missile launcher, it does what it says on the tin. What sets it apart from the plasma gun is a substantially larger area of effect. It makes quick work of them, but that initial shock of seeing all of those Chaos Marines teleport in still shook me. I should thank the Emperor that these Marines represent Chaos Undivided and don't lean into the Tzeentch and Nurgle focus that the enemies take on the Chaos side, because if I had to fight Rubik Marines and Plague Marines, I'd have uninstalled right then and there. But these aren't the only enemies that throw down with you, because you fight a lot, and I mean a lot, of the lesser demons of the Chaos Gods, Tzeentch, the god of magic and change, and Nurgle, the god of plagues, morbidity, and mortality. These include annoying flying enemies like the bloat drones and the screamers of Tzeentch, normal and lesser plague toads, which I fucking hate. These goofy little goobers that swarm you called Nurglings, and the most terrifying demons in the roster, the thick and disgusting Great Unclean Ones, and the projectile-tossing Lords of Change. These two in particular are absolute bastards, because the former has an AoE poison volley that has range for days, and the latter are basically the Archviles from Doom 2. Thankfully, the other new weapon, the Multi-Melta, makes short work of them both. The Multi-Melta is basically a double-barreled melta-gun that fires in 3-shot bursts. It's fucking powerful as hell, and I love it. We also got a new enemy in the form of the Hellbrute, which is a Chaos Marine-controlled bipedal battle tank that has the pilot fused into it because this is 40k and it wouldn't be that without some body horror on the side. We also have melee variants of the Chaos Terminators, which are just beefy Aspiring Champions, but they don't revive on death, so I don't hate them, and Chaos Havoc Marines, which are just Chaos Marines packing rocket launchers. The combat encounters in Forges of Corruption do their best to test their player in ways that the base game of Boltgun really doesn't. Like having configurations of higher tier enemies that can just wreck your shit. It's all very challenging, even on the lower difficulties. I'm actually very scared to see what it'd be like on the aptly named Exterminatus difficulty. This is in stark contrast to how combat was structured in base Boltgun. These new combat encounters are large, multi-stage affairs that can take upwards of 5 or so minutes just to get through. And while I admit that I was dying a lot, I was still having a lot of fun. Oh, and by the way, Exterminatus is the Imperium's code word for destroying an entire planet's biosphere should it fall to either chaos corruption or alien invasion.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
One thing I do like about Boltgun is how it looks. It's got a lot of chunky looking pixels, which is great because it jibs quite nicely. Hey kids, wanna know a secret? This was made in Unreal Engine 4. I don't know what Aurochs artists did, but they made Boltgun look like a combination of an old FPS game that you have idealized memories of and old Warhammer models at the same time. But you can tell that the aesthetic all over is coming from a place of love. Love and black magic. Take your pick. One last thing I noticed is that I could just put on a heavy metal album and BAM! Instant music video. I highly recommend Power Slave and or Book of Souls by Iron Maiden, which I can't use for copyright purposes, so just trust me on this one. Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun and Forges of Corruption are a great combined package. The former is a love letter to 40K's heavy metal and satire-tinged roots, on top of being a heavy-feeling and brutal first-person shooter. And the latter is a more challenging remix of the former if you really liked it like I did. Plus, by the time this goes live, the Steam sale for the summer is going to be going on, so you can get both for like 25 bucks Canadian. If so, don some power armor, pick up your holy bolter, and go forth and rip and tear in the Emperor's name. And that will be it for this week's video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like it if you did, and share it around as well. It helps the channel out a lot. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. And if you live in Canada, happy Canada Day.